distinguished members of the faculty and the students, the community. Before I make my presentation, allow me to bring you greetings from His Excellency President Mwai Kibaki. An alumni of this great university. Not just an alumni, but I think a distinguished one. It is truly wonderful to be able to come and make this presentation before you, and to have the opportunity to talk to East Africans from Makerere. I cannot think of a better place in East Africa to address East Africans from. And so, for you having afforded me this opportunity, may God truly bless you. A famed professor once inquired from his doctoral student how he was faring in compiling his dissertation, to which the student offered, I quote, "There is light at the end of the tunnel," end of quote. Then the professor wittingly warned, and again I quote, "as long as the light is not one from an oncoming train." Ladies and gentlemen, I'm persuaded that East Africa is standing on the threshold of a transition, that the light at the end of the tunnel, that this time round erodes good tidings ahead, as long as we do not drop our guard. I remember during the struggle to get rid of apartheid in South Africa, and during those long, winding negotiations, when Nelson Mandela was eventually released from Robben Island prison, and then the world was trying to really push hard to get rid of apartheid, somebody said, "We see a light at the end of the tunnel." And this expression has come to be associated with hope, a light at the end of the tunnel. Thus, my topic today is East Africa in development transition. The light ahead is not an oncoming train, lest we just want to disappear and run away. It does erode hope, and great hope, not just for East Africa, I believe, but for the whole of the African continent. The foremost and most engaging inquiry resident in the mind of the majority of the citizens of East Africa, and indeed one directed at leaders of these nations, is arguably the following: how can our countries truly overcome the social and economic adversities that afflict the citizens, especially in the light of the critical need to consolidate democracy? The citizen could follow up this question with a curious-sounding plea. Please, I beg of you, favor me with an answer far away from decades-old cliches that have obviously not worked. I wish to call this the citizen's grand question. This, too, is a question that the private sector has to address insofar as public and private interests overlap in reality, even as critics are wont to point out areas or moments of conflict. Access to employment opportunities alongside improved incomes, for example, guarantees a lucrative consumer market for goods produced by private investors. Similarly, higher tax returns due to governments, and especially derived from broadened tax bases, constitute a remarkable and welcome complement to private firms that bid for public project tenders. The symbiosis between the public and private sectors cannot be gainsaid, therefore. That being the case, leaders in both public and private sectors have a role and at the same time a responsibility where the citizen's grand question is concerned. The aim of this lecture is essentially to shed light to areas where plausible answers to the grand question may be found. The starting point in this regard, ideally, is a reprisal of how far we have come, the achievements we have realized thus far, be they much or indeed small. The mistakes you have made in the past and the lessons you have gathered from those mistakes and achievements. The adjunct question to this main concern must address itself to exactly how we can translate all these lessons into the means by which we can catalyze real social and economic transformation embedded in the citizens' grand question. I'm persuaded, ladies and gentlemen, that unless we illuminate the past, we have traveled thus far, and only then beam the future with a fresh perspective that allows ingenuity to point the way forward, we certainly run the risk of suffering another series of false starts. The challenge at the moment is draw from hindsight in order to build an insight and provide an enabling atmosphere for foresight to deliver on our dreams. First of all, with regard to the past of achievements and our mistakes, a review of our past shows mixed performance and a share of good and bad practices and ideologies, and therefore, by extension, good or bad results. Therefore, East Africans deserve to be acclaimed in the same breath that, albeit gently, reprimands them. I will discuss this duality simultaneously. Lest we forget, the greatest achievement of all time for East Africa and the continent as a whole is a struggle for and attainment of independence and nationhood. We have therefore to acknowledge and acclaim the very patriotic and selfless heroes and heroines of the independence struggle, be they known or unknown, sung or indeed unsung. Many of them died in the struggle, especially in my own country, Kenya. And I know the same happened in Uganda and elsewhere in East Africa. A few of the survivors were able to lead their countries through the independence transition. In this regard, Mwalimu Julius Nyerere, himself an alumni, Mzee Jomo Kenyatta, Dr. Milton Obote, the trio always stand tall. That is not to say that an objective critique of the performance of these leaders is not in order.